Okay, so this is a general overview of a few things about assemblies in Inventor. First thing we're going to look at is hooking two pieces together that have flat surfaces, square sides, things like that. When we're doing flat to flat, we're going to constrain. We're going to use the type mate. In between the solutions, mate and flush. So I'm going to start with the mate. I'm going to hook the two sides here. I'm going to mate those. I'm going to make sure that my offset is at 0. And now those two surfaces are touching each other. Doesn't mean that's necessarily what's going to happen when you do it initially, depending on how yours is set up. But now the space between these has to touch. It doesn't mean that these are fully constrained, because they can still move around. I can slide this all over the place. So next thing we're going to do then is we're going to use the constraint again. We're going to flush the sides here with each other. Again, making sure my offset is 0. And we'll flush the ends. So when we have two things that have lots of flat surfaces that we can are 90 degrees from each other, mate is what we want to use with a flush or a mate solution. If we have two things that have circular things that we're trying to hook together, we can use the insert command. That goes round things. So we have a round and a round, and those hook together like that. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is even though they are together, they can still rotate around each other and create sort of an axial effect. So if I would want these to not rotate, then I would have to do an additional constraint, and we could flush the sides somewhere along here. Those would create one solid mass then. So inserts for round, mates for square sides. And we're going to work on the base of the part that we've been trying to create. So we have a new assembly here. Create new, come up to the top, use the little drop down, pick assembly, and then you're going to use the place command. And the first thing that we put in here from our list from the Vex Inventor file was the 5x15 plate. So open that up. Once it's open, click once to place one in. If we wanted a second one, we could place it again. Otherwise, we can push escape and place the other parts that we want. So the other part we want is a beam that is 3000 in terms of its length. I'm going to place a few of these in here. We're going to use 4 of these. Now, we can do each one of these, and we're going to hook them onto a corner. And so the problem here now is we have a round with a square. So that doesn't immediately work out so great. But what we can do is there's a flat surface on the end and a flat surface for the top or the bottom of the plate that we can constrain together. So flat surfaces would be square edges. That's a mate. So we can pick the flat surface of the plate, and then using our mouse to scroll in so we can see the flat surface of the end here, click that and click OK. Now those should be tied to each other better. Oh, I had the wrong type. When I open it up, it looks like it somehow got to be a flush, not a mate. So I need to edit that, change that to a mate, and I don't want anything on the offset. And then OK. So that should be a little better. Now the other thing I want is I'm going to pull it over here just to see a little bit better. And then I'm going to use the view cube to rotate. Click and drag on that. I'm going to come in so that I can see what's going on here. To get a round and a square together, we're going to use constrain, and a different one, this is called tangent. Tangent puts a flat edge at one point on a square or a circular surface. So we're going to find this circular surface inside, and then the square edge. Now that's what we want it to look like, except this doesn't fit right in the middle here. It's a little bit off. So this is where we do want to use the offset, and a 0.01 amount will fit in there pretty nicely. But we still need, that's only going to be tangent to one side. This beam could still slide around some. So we're going to do a tangent again on the side. I'm going to rotate it a little bit so I can make sure I'm seeing what I want with the circular interior there. And I'm going to set my offset at 0.01 before I click OK. So now we are tied together here. So I can do the same thing with the other four at each corner, just like I did here. Do a mate on the surface and tangents for the inside to those squares. But also have other options of how I can put things on here that will help me line them up a little bit better. It does require some work, but there is a command that's called mirror, and we can mirror what we've done here on another side. And so since this is nice and even here, I want to mirror this side with that side. To do this, I'm going to need to create a plane that I'm going to need to mirror off of, because a mirror requires that flat surface that's being mirrored on. Just like when we look in a mirror, the flat surface of the mirror reflects our image back to us. So to do this, I'm going to use a plane, and I need a flat surface to work off of, which is, in this particular case, when I zoom in here, this side. And I'm going to hold that down when I click it, because what I want to do is I want to put it right in the middle of the plate. To do that, I'm going to drag it over till I get to about the middle, what looks like the middle here. And it looks like right there is the middle. Now, I've got a dimension on here of negative 1.250 inches. I'm going to go ahead and click the check on that. OK, and it's created a plane for me. Now I can measure things over here with the tab Inspect up at the top. When I use that tab Inspect, I can check distances. And so I can check the distance, if I click on the edge, to my plane. I've got 1.25. Let's check if it's the same from the other side. I click the side to the plane, and it's 1.25. So I did get the middle between the two here. So now that I've got this plane, I'm going to go back to the tab Assemble from the top. I'm going to use the mirror command, and the first thing it wants is components. It's highlighted in blue here. I'm not clicking anything. So I'm going to click the component I want to mirror, and then select a mirror plane, and that is right here, and that pops it right over there where I want it. And so we're going to go ahead and click Next on that, and all of this is fine. We're going to go OK, and it creates that other beam here. Now the problem we do have is we still need to constrain this. It put it in place, but it's not constrained yet. But since it is all right there lined up the way I want, it'll be much easier to come through. Use constrain. We're going to use the tangent. And something's gone wrong. Now, when that happens, we're just going to click cancel and maybe back up a little bit here so you can see what's going on. Just a bad angle or something like that. The computer doesn't always do exactly what you think it's going to do. So we canceled that. Let's try again. I'm going to use the tangent. Make sure I get the face, that cylinder in there. And then I get one of these edges. Alright, so I must have just clicked something wrong last time and put in our offset 0.01. And then I'll get it for the other side. 0.01. And we should be in good shape now. We have two tangents holding that in place there. The only thing we're missing now is our mate in there. So to get at those surfaces, I'm going to pull down just a little bit so I can see this flat surface in here. Constrain, use a mate. I'm going to find that flat surface. I can tell the arrow is pointing up there, so it's got that flat surface. Then I'll rotate my bit around so I can see the plate's flat surface and click those together. Make sure my offset's at 0 and click OK. Now I can do the same thing, creating a mirror plane the other way, and do both of these at the same time. So I'm going to click my plane over from the ribbon up here at the top. And I have to find a flat surface that's going to be my plane, and that's going to be the very end. And I'm going to start dragging it along. I'm going to zoom out. And I need to find the middle of this. And I think the middle's about right here. Since I'm not exactly sure, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give a rough idea. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's right. It's 15 this way. So if I count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this should be about halfway through 8 should be the middle there. And it's stopping at 0.375. That sounds pretty good. So let's give that a try. I'll use inspect to check the distance from the end of the plate to the work plane. 3.75. End of the plate to the work plane. 3.75. So I did find the middle. So now I'm done with inspect. I'm going to go back to assemble, use the mirror command, and I'm going to pick both of these components, the mirror plane, and it puts two new ones in for me. So now all I have to do is put my constraints on those, and those will be set in place. So that is how we use the tangent on that. So remember that we're using constrain, use mate and flush for flat surface to flat surface, square corners and square corners. We use the insert for round things into round things, and tangent when we're doing round things to flat surfaces.